I've got one that can see.
I want you guys to listen to this. This is King Abdullah from I think it's Africa. King ripping into Israel and the United States. Check this out.
At its core, how long will it be before I stand before you and speak not of suffering and devastation in my region, but of prospect, prosperity, and potential? Sadly, this is not the only conflict in our world. And some may say that other wars are also devastating. But the Palestinian-Israeli conflict remains unique.
Here it comes. Get ready.
It is the longest standing conflict in the world. An illegal occupation of a helpless population by a self-declared democratic nation.
An illegal occupation, true, by a self-declared democratic nation. What was he say? Hold on.
And a flagrant violation of a helpless population by a self-declared democratic nation. And a flagrant violation of repeated UN resolutions, international law, and human rights conventions. A failure that should have elicited outrage and action, especially from major democracies.
The U.S.?
Instead, it has been met with decades of inertia. My friends, the war in Gaza marks one of the darkest moments in this institution's history. But although it is today's horror, the injustice stretches back decades. The Palestinian-Israeli conflict has been on the UN agenda throughout its 8 decades of existence. How long will we be satisfied with condemnation after condemnation without concrete action? When it comes to the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, it seems that what unfolds in the halls of power is theory. The struggles and suffering on the ground is reality. For decades, we have seen several attempts to achieve a solution.
Sounds like a perfect time for a leader to bring a false peace to the world where all of these kings get behind them and they give their power to that certain leader for 1 hour. And also kind of brings into play where Revelation 17, where Mystery Babylon gets destroyed in 1 hour. But pretty wild. Let me see if he says anything else good.
By interim agreements and temporary stopgaps, none that delivered on the endgame. In fact, many would argue these processes served as a distraction as Israel grabbed more land, expanded illegal settlements, demolished homes, and displaced entire neighborhoods. Muslim and Christian holy sites in Jerusalem have been vandalized and desecrated by those under government protection. And throughout all these years, Israeli families too have not been able to live in true security because military action cannot bring the safety they need. Nowhere is that more evident than in Gaza.
Sounds like they need some peace and safety to me.
More than 60,000 Palestinians killed, 50,000 children injured or killed, miles of burnt out rubble. Neighborhoods, hospitals, schools, farms, even mosques and churches in ruins. Widespread starvation. And what we are seeing is only a glimpse, because never in our modern history has the lenses of international media been obstructed like this from capturing the reality on the ground.
The guy's telling some truth. Our media is definitely slanted towards a certain nation, if you know what I mean.
Almost 2 years in, and the cruelty of this military campaign continues unabated. Furthermore, the current Israeli government's provocative calls for a so-called Greater Israel can only be realized through the blatant violation of the sovereignty and territorial integrity of its neighbors. And there is nothing great about that. I can't help but wonder if a similar outrageous call were made by an Arab leader, would it be met with the same global apathy? The international community must stop entertaining the illusion that this government is a willing partner for peace. Far from it. Its actions on the ground are dismantling the very foundations on which peace could stand,
He's ripping them pretty good, isn't he?
and intentionally burying the very idea of a Palestinian state. It has shown how little it respects the sovereignty of other countries, as we have seen in flagrant violations in Lebanon, Iran, Syria, Tunisia, and most recently, Qatar. And its hostile rhetoric calling for the targeting of Al-Aqsa Mosque will incite a religious war that would reach far beyond the region and lead to an all-out clash that no nation would be able to escape. How long before we hold all nations to the same standards? How long before we recognize the Palestinians as people who aspire to the same things you and I do, and we act on that recognition?
You know, back in the Gospels where Jesus was taken up on a high mountain and offered the kingdoms of this world if he would bow down and worship the devil. Seems like a certain group of people, the SOS, synagogue of Satan, they took that deal that Jesus rejected. Maybe this king hadn't got that memo about that.
How long before we recognize that statehood is not something Palestinians need to earn? It is not a reward. It is an indisputable right.
Last I've heard, there was like 140 nations that were against the United States and Israel. So who knows what's going on over there? Who really knows? And who knows how much of a stage all of this is? I don't know. But it certainly seems like everything's kind of falling in place.
In Jordan, we are determined to work for a world in which people are secure.
All right. Well, I'll leave this link in the description if you guys want to listen to the whole speech. I just wanted to let y'all hear a little bit of where this King Abdullah was basically ripping into Israel. And I don't know. Y'all let me know what you think in the comments. Y'all take it easy. Bye.